Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass and Move. And for today's episode, we do have the game for you here against Belenenses, who we've already played as mentioned in the last episode, but we will be showing today's game as well, which is in, of course, the Taca de Portugal for 5th round, as we mentioned. So we did play the Premier League game against them, and we'll talk more about what happened. But as you can tell, we do have a game in hand, which we won't be playing today because we're in the Taça de Portugal, of course. And but yeah, if we win that game in hand, we should be able to go top, depending on goal difference. But yeah, Porto and Sporting fighting hard now, and even Benfica, they've played their game in hand, but they're still there with us. Ferreira are proving surprisingly that they won a challenge for a Champions League spot too. So it'll be interesting to see, just what will happen by the end of the season. But for now, 13 games played by everyone else. We've only played 12, and we do have to face off against our rivals in the next fixture. So it'll be interesting to see whether we can actually get the result against them. We've had a poor record against them. Anyways, in terms of what happened since the last episode, of course, we have played 4 games since that Gelsenkirchen Europa League match. So the game against Aruca, Raniel managed to score a brace off the bench after Ole opened the scoring for his team in the 16th minute. And Sporting lost before this game, so it was a huge game for us to play. We were at home and we really needed a win, of course, to jump ahead of them. And we also needed to get revenge against Aruca, who managed to beat us previously. We lacked some serious finishing, but Raniel managed to come on from the bench and score twice, and it was just a huge comeback win after going down quite early in the game in the 16th minute really. So it sent us top, and that was good to see that we actually managed to get the result despite what was happening during the game. Against Belenenses, a 4-1 win in the League Cup third phase group. It was great to eventually win, but Grasa he scored the first goal within 2 minutes, an even earlier goal. So once more, comeback win, but an even bigger comeback win this time. So Raniel has saved us both times when we've come back, and it was his substitution once more that made a huge difference. As you can see, Hassan was actually on the 6.4, but when we brought Raniel on, as well as Fabio Martins, both the players managed to really seal up the result for us quite well, and inspire the team, I suppose, to go on and get a good result. There's also a little bit of an update where we've also been given more funds because our finances were good, so the board basically invested in the club some more. And it's just great to see, because that was the very first time happening, and given everything that happened, for example, we got shut down for our training facilities. It's just good to see us finally hit 10 million. I think we've never been there. Yeah, it's good to see. The problem is that, of course, we're always losing money. Now, our transfer budget is a little bit bigger than in previous seasons, where it's been on like 1 million. But yeah, for some reason, the future projection's always going on a low. So I think that has to do, of course, with our expenditure being a little bit more than our income, which is kind of normal because obviously player wages, staff wages, all that takes a lot of money. But at the same time, we're not getting enough from gate receipts, for example, of its prize money, TV revenue, which means we have to try and perform even better, to get that prize money in the first place. If we underperform, we're suddenly not making enough money. So we really want to start relying on gate receipts. We want more fans coming in, so merchandising, matchday income, all that sort of stuff, gets us some good money, and that we can finally rely on ourselves to be making money rather than prize money and all that business. The good thing is, though, of course, that we don't have any loans or debts, so it's nice to see. But yeah, against Belenenses in the Premier League, they managed to beat us. Bruno Gomez scoring the 38th minute. Unfortunately, this time he couldn't come back, and our luck kind of caught up with us, because if you come back twice in a row, it's unlikely that you'd win the third game. It's kind of good that we lost, in the sense that it would wake up the team. It should anyways wake up the team, and hopefully they can go on and win on a winning run in the league, really. And I think that moves us. Well, actually, just to be talking about the Belenenses game a little bit, we kept falling behind, which is what I mentioned, and yeah, definitely a bad loss. Against Ustandé, though, was a good win, a convincing. Well, not too convincing, actually. The reality is we scored in the 91st minute through Santos. It was just great to get the win, considering how they beat us early in the season at our own home. So it's good to get the result at their stadium, and eventually just help us get to top spot. It was a good, bounce back from the previous result. It helped us finish top, but we need to, bounce back in the Premier League, which is a little bit more important than bouncing back, in the Europa League and whatnot. It's also just a few little announcements. So it's good to see that Jubal, the player that we brought in I think last season and maybe the season before, he's finally fulfilled this potential that we brought him in for. He is now considered the leading centre-back for most Premier League sides. I think we have very few players in our squad that are like that. I think Santos is one of them actually. No, he's not. Okay, so I think it's just pretty much Hassan and Jubal. So it's good to see Jubal as a player that we brought in rather than like Hassan. And I'd love to see the same happen with Raniel, where players that we bring in are actually fulfilling the potential and becoming star players for us. I'm pretty sure Danilo's a leading player as well. So yeah, we've got about 3 players in our squad that are leading players, and we need to improve on that. We need to have a full starting 11 of leading players, and then a backup 11 of players who have potential to become leading players. We also drew Krasnodar in the Europa League, which is not a bad team to play against. I think we've had previously tougher draws, so it's good to see us face off against the Russian Premier Division team, and hopefully it should be an easy win. And another little update is that we have finally gotten the club facilities updated, or upgraded rather. It's not the what was the facilities called? Training facilities. It's actually the youth facilities, but now we've got both on Superb, which is great to see, and we'll hopefully keep investing. We've got 10 million in the bank. The board are happy to invest in the club apparently by giving us more funds. So we do want, as soon as we get the opportunity, to ask for the training facilities to be upgraded, because we've had the training facilities upgraded once and the youth facilities twice. So we just want to kind of, they are level right now, but we want to try and keep requesting as often as possible to really get up there. And as soon as we have top facilities, then we won't really need to upgrade them, and it just happens like once every 3 years or so where your facilities get downgraded because of future developments and whatnot. So hopefully we can actually keep that up, and then when we get to the point where we don't need to upgrade anymore, we can start investing that money into serious transfers. It's really important to actually upgrade the facilities first rather than make some serious transfers. That way you can have money in the future, but also you can rely on developing your players a little bit more. So we'll show you the Taca de Portugal game now. It's a nice little cup competition. I did mention that we are going to try and bag at least one cup competition. We do want a trophy this year. We can't just get into the Champions League. That wouldn't really show any serious progress. If we do win the league, of course, and not get any cup competitions, I'm obviously fine with that. But the likelihood is we'll have to settle once more for Champions League football, which would mean trying to do a little better next season and getting into the Champions League spots, as well as also trying to win a cup competition this year, which would be great. So maybe we could do it in the Taça de Portugal, but first we have to beat Belenenses, who've proven tough opposition by beating us first to last in the Premier League game. So Raniel will start off the recent good form over Hassan, even though Hassan has been in good form overall this season, but recently Raniel's just been outplaying him, so he gets a little nod here. Rosas goes the same for him as in terms of with Martins, even though Martins performed well. I think actually Martins might be injured. Yep, that's the one. Rosa got substituted for Martins. Martins performed well, but Rosa gets a nod again today because he is injured. Santos, straightforward decision. Danilo and Rossell. Danilo is really our first choice. Russell and Jocka are the ones who are backup players, and I think Fonte hasn't had too great a season this year, so hopefully Jocka can really solidify his spot on the team. Russell takes over from Fernandes, who hasn't necessarily made his huge mark on the team, but of course it is still his first season at the club, so hopefully by next season he'll be completely adapted. Juankar, Rosic, Jubal, straightforward first choice defense. We've got Moreira on goal because it's a cup, and we've also got Pierre on the right back spot because I think Paulino was in poor form the last time I checked. I think he's also getting back from injury, which is why he's playing for the reserves, or rather the Braga B team. They're playing with an interesting 4-2-3-1 formation, very attacking of course. They have an injured player in their team though, so maybe we can actually expose him specifically, really, and maybe we can get a win today in the Taça de Portugal. It's very important, of course, that like you guys saw, I did tell my players to try and get revenge. Often, it doesn't always happen, of course, but I find that telling your players to get revenge actually works a little bit more than telling them that you expect them to win. I think if I wasn't mistaken, the odds were that we are favourites for today's game, which makes sense, of course. But yeah, maybe revenge will spark a little bit more from them. Santos is going to score the free kick. What a free kick that is. Why would I ever doubt him? Should have said Santos will score this free kick. Normally, when you have a highlight of your player just before a free kick, it almost always means they're going to score it. But I've had a little bit of a run lately where they hit the crossbar instead, and it's so close. And so I wasn't sure if Santos was going to score, but that's one hell of a free kick from Santos. Puts us in a good position. We've gone, we've conceded early before, but now this time we've actually managed to score early. And can we get a second here? Rosic on the ball, through to Rosa, he's free. What can he do here? What damage? Plays it safely to Raniel. Rosa again, Raniel, and it's finally in. And it looks like my players are fired up. If they can get one more, that'd be perfect. Not bad. Actually a really good ball from Rosa, but Raniel just blasts into one of the players. This time he makes it a little bit better. And the goalkeeper can do anything about that, really. He's just kind of flying from side to side, just trying to find out who's going to score. His defenders are useless there. And if I was the Belenenses manager, I'd be very pissed off, of course. Anyways, we are dominating. It's just good to see us dominate the scoreline and not just the stats. We've got 17 shots to their 4, 6 on target compared to their 3. When you play with 2 inside forwards and a false 9, you can kind of expect a lot of shots, but not too many on target. I've been thinking maybe a little bit about having the tactical instruction of... give me just a second here. Alright, players don't seem too complacent here, so hopefully a little bit of motivation will do them well. Yeah, I was thinking about setting the tactical instruction of work the ball into the box. We are a possession-based side, of course, so it's not like we're doing anything unusual. And it would also help the, useless shots that inside forwards tend to take, or even the false 9, who sometimes drops ball for the deep, sees no one's really running ahead of him, and just shoots from long range outside the box or whatever. So that can tend to happen a lot. You've had 3 times the shots, but only... you've had 25 shots, but only about a third, maybe even less than a third, has been on target. So that's that's a tendency that inside forwards and false 9s do. But the thing is, the reason why I kinda don't want to do it is because when you stop that, I've seen my false 9s and my inside forwards score ridiculous goals at times. So if I do the work ball into the box instruction, the likelihood is that they would not be taking those shots as often, and maybe we would risk losing out on some incredible goals that could possibly win us games that we looked very likely to draw, of course. So, or even maybe turning a loss into a draw. So we kind of have to let our players have creative freedom and freedom of movement, which is both the things that I do, as you guys know in the tactical instructions. So that also might explain a little bit of the shots, the high shot count in comparison to shots on target. But anyways, point is 2-0, and we should be looking to make some substitutions here. Couple of players tied, but we're trying to find out who performed well and deserves to come off. Santos, a high 8.3. He's a little bit low on fitness. We can save him for the next game. Raniel done well as well, so let's give Hassan a little bit of a run out and a chance to maybe score off the bench and force his way back into the starting 11, of course. Rosa and Danilo don't have anyone on the bench for them, so it'll be Joka who comes off for Fonte, who again, once more, can possibly prove his worth off the bench and force himself into the first 11. Him and Hassan, both starting players typically, so they'll be a little bit upset coming off the bench here, but they should have a lot to prove as well, proving that yes, we are starting team players and we do deserve to start. Anyways, Ross on the ball here. What's he going to do? Outside the box to Danilo. He's going to shoot. Yes, he does, but it just bounces off someone, and Rosso takes a weird chip shot kind of thing. Either way, Ventura saved it, and that's not the end of the highlight. So what's going to happen here? Fonte on the ball. What's he going to do? Just come off the bench. Should play it safely to his right winger. Yes, Simao. Through to Hassan. What's he going to do? Is he going to score? Well placed shot. That's what I love about Hassan. Sometimes he does the stupidest shots ever, but at other times he just places the shot so well from angles you wouldn't necessarily think he could score from in comparison to Raniel. Raniel kind of scores, sometimes he scores poacher's goals, to be honest, but Hassan has that long range ability and that well placed ability as well, so it makes him stand out a little bit more. He's also one of the, I think I already mentioned it, but yeah, he is one of the leading players in our squad as well, so it's great for us to see him have such great form in front of goal this season. I think that makes him 11 goals this season, perfect. He's already in double figures and we're halfway through the season, so if he continues that form, by the end of the season he should hit 20 plus goals, which is exactly what you want from your striker. Yeah, preferably you want all of those to come in the Premier Liga, but it's good to see it also spread around in, you know, cup competitions like Taca de Portugal, especially because we're going to be taking these games seriously this year. Not that we weren't taking them seriously last year, but past seasons really, we were taking them seriously. Just we wanted to kind of just meet expectations. Whatever happens after is okay, but this time we really do want to try and go all out and win it, and hopefully get our team some silverware, some good experience. And I can spur on maybe some future transfers or help the players looking to leave to stay. We don't necessarily have anyone. You know, last season was a huge mess, everyone asking to leave. So far we're about halfway through the season, no one's asked to leave yet, which is good. Other than Danilo, of course, in the beginning of the season where he you know, said that we need to win the title, otherwise I'm leaving. So I managed to bring out one more season out of him, and it'll be interesting to see if we fail to get the title, whether he would actually stick to that or not. You know, Santos and Marcelo in the very first season asked for Champions League football and then gave us another season's time because we were so close. So maybe that will happen again. Either way, 3-0 against Belenenses, and you can't really ask for a more dominant, more pleasing performance, especially with Hassan coming off the bench and scoring to prove his worth and possibly put some pressure on Raniel to get back into the first 11. Hopefully we can continue that form, and it'll be great to see more similar results. So in terms of when we'll be back, it looks like we'll be playing 2 Premier League games as well as 2 League Cup games, and hopefully by the next episode we already would have qualified for another League Cup semi-final. That'll be very good. 2 cup competitions meeting expectations. We're already in the 6th round, which is where they want us to be, the board. And if we beat these 2 teams in the League Cup, we'll also manage to get into the semi-final, so again meet expectations. So Premier League games are this team that I think just got promoted in Belenenses, 2 teams that we should be beating. Belenenses will prove tough opposition in the League Cup, but again we should beat this team here as well. So we'll see how it goes, but we will be back with Premier League football next time rather than cup competitions. That'll be good to see, but also depends of course when the Taça de Portugal 6th round is played. The draws here, so maybe we might be back for that game instead. We'll see. But anyways, I think that will be all for today's episode. So if you did enjoy it, then of course please do hit the like button and subscribe for more daily Football Manager 2017 content. And as always guys, thank you all very much for watching.